100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app HD2 Northport and W265CP Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Alabama first and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you playing fullback up there. I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to recruit you, and I running back coach came back to biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
3, 2, 1.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. The Martin Houston Show fan page at Martin Houston Live on Facebook, at Martin Houston 35 on Twitter. It is a beautiful Tuesday morning. We're live and local and glad to have you as a part of the program. Would love to invite you to be a part of the conversation at 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. The Taco Casa hotline is open for business. Taco Casa, quality, taste, value under the biggest cactus in town. Great option for lunch and or dinner, so go check them out. If you would want to remind you that this is the day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. We'll continue our conversation from yesterday, get into a couple new topics today as well, as we welcome Joe back into the driver's seat. Good morning, Joe. How you doing, sir?
Martin, happy to be back. Good to be here. Ready to see what you and Brian have been doing for the last 7 or so days, and getting ready for Alabama football.
Yeah, man, it's been 2 weeks and some change since you and I worked together. So glad to have you back. We of course hit the highlights from the weekend on yesterday, and love to get your thoughts on a couple of those things. And then of course Alabama back on the practice field yesterday for practice number 3, I should say, of fall camp. And Nick Saban and the OC and the DC having some conversations, right? No, I'm just being funny with that. Pete Golding is the right man. Whether he's the right man for the job or not, that's yet to be seen. But he definitely has at least one word down, right? Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm having fun this morning. How you doing? Hey, do what now? Right. Hey, no, seriously, just a couple things from yesterday. We're gonna have DC Capstone report coming up in the second quarter as well, and we'll get his thoughts. But just a couple of things from yesterday, Joe. See if you wanted to share anything. If you had anything from a Bobby Bowden standpoint, from remembering him and his influence on the game of college sports and on the world as a whole, as a husband and a father and just a friend and a man.
Well, Bobby Bowden was a great coach and a great man, and his legacy is going to last for a long, long time. Wasn't he instrumental in FCA, Martin?
Oh, he was one of the guys. That was actually one of the stories he and I shared yesterday. I was on a speaking opportunity, and it was a faith-based opportunity. And I'm like giddy to go meet him, and whether he knew me from playing days or just from having studied the list of speakers before I could really even greet him. He was like, "Hey, Martin, how you doing?" And you would have thought, if you had watched the interaction, you would have thought we were long lost friends that hadn't seen each other in a while, and I'd never met him in person. So, and that was what made him so unique. But I watched him interact with me as well as others, and he did. It was the same. There was no difference in how he engaged me as one of the co-speakers at that Christian event than he did the everyday person, which I'm just an everyday person as well. But you understand what I'm saying. And that's what I think endeared him to his players. And, you know, I don't know if you know the story about him offering Coach Saban a job when he was at West Virginia, uh, when Coach Saban's dad passed away. I don't know if you knew that story or not. He just heard about Coach. He knew Coach Saban's dad, Nick Senior, and when he passed away unexpectedly, uh, Coach Boughton reached out to Coach Saban and offered him a job. So it just shows you what type of person he was. Was thinking more so about helping people as much as he was about building his program.
Absolutely, and for him to reach out and offer Coach Saban a job like that in his time of need just shows his character.
Yep, and that's what he was known for. As great a man as he was football coaching, he was a pretty good football coach. Um, Easily, at one point in college football, I guess they were on their way to being the first family of football with the success of the Boughtons that was happening, and I had the unique opportunity, of course, to be around one of the sons, Tommy, who was a coach here on Coach Stallings' staff when I was in school here, and great guy, and that apple didn't fall far from the tree. From my experience, but another quick story. If you see if you had any thoughts or comments in regards to Scott Cochran, and falling on tough, I guess to say falling to, without going into a lot of detail, kind of a tough time over at Georgia, transition and different things. And after a year being away from the Crimson Tide, he's going to now take some time away from Georgia to work on some mental issues. Any thoughts, comments on that?
I think that's pretty interesting. Georgia, fortunate to have Will Muschamp waiting in the wings to step in as special teams coordinator. I wish all the best for Scott Cochran, and taking some time away is it's necessary sometimes. So I hope that he gets the help that he needs.
Yeah, and that's the key is I can tell you, having a little bit of insight, pray for him and his family and that everything goes well. And this is just Martin. Now, this is not something that I'm aware of or know of or anything, Joe. Don't be surprised if Scott Cochran doesn't end back uh, under the fold of Nick Saban as another rehab project. Just just throwing that out there. Just FYI. Not that he's going to be on staff or anything, but don't. I would not be surprised if there's not a journey through here, whether it's to get back into strength and conditioning and learn from um, Dr. Ray and Coach Ballou, this new form of strength and conditioning, or whether it's just to come as an analyst and learn. I mean, think about what some of the other coaches have done, to learn that have been proven coaches. that have learned and talk about how much they learned. And we can look at the likes of Kiffin and Sarkisian and now, of course, Bill O'Brien, who are learning. So I'll let you give an eye. What on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think the chances that Scott Cochran ends up back in Tuscaloosa?
For about a 5.
About a 5.
Yeah, I think equal chances that he ends up ends up getting over whatever he's facing and returns to Georgia. I think there's chances that he comes to Tuscaloosa. He can go down and make his way in Louisiana. He's got all kinds of options in front of him.
Yeah, he does have a lot of options, of course. And like I said, I that's not inside scoop. So I don't. There's if that happens, it's just that you've seen. I've seen Nick Saban work to help those who have been good to him, And even though strength and conditioning outgrew Scott Cochran in terms of the transition of the game, plus him also wanting to get on the field, hopefully that relationship is strong enough that they can actually still be there to help each other. So Curtis Moore saying he think about an 8. CJ Watson saying he's with Joe. I'd say a 5, and I'm going to say probably somewhere in the 7 to 8 range. I think it's a good possibility that he ends up back in Tuscaloosa as in some shape or form for some length of time, not necessarily long term, permanent, or anything like that. But we'll watch that. Also, good news for the Alabama Crimson Tide and all of those who are looking for big things from the tight end position. Jaleel Billingsley back on the field. We'll talk about what that means with DC and DC Capstone Report, as well as Joe. What does it mean to have Billingsley back? Does this mean he's bought in? Was it an eye opener? Was this a hey, listen, we are a team and you're going to pay the price like everyone else, or you will be watching from the sideline? Also, we got to hear from the coordinators. Won't get to hear from them for a while. We'll get their thoughts as well. And is Pete Golding ready to take this defense to the next level? And in doing that, what role will Will Anderson, Toa, and others play? High praise for Kool-aid. We'll talk about that and more right here on the Martin Houston Show. Stay tuned.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active wrecks. Things pretty quiet around town, and we do have some paving going on 2059. This is McFarland, so use caution in that area. If you see other conditions, give us a call. Townsend Nissan has an amazing selection of brand new cars, trucks, SUVs, and they really need your trade. Go see them. I'm Captain Ray.
Attention business owners, if your biggest question is, how can I find more customers? Then Town Square can help. Go to mylocalcustomers.com for a free competitive analysis that will show you how the most successful businesses grow and how you can do it too. These strategies are simple and we can show you how to apply them to your
Can get a full health coverage.
Due to the COVID relief law, 4 out of 5 customers can get a plan for under $10 a month with financial help. From doctor visits to preventive services to prescription drugs, these are quality plans. You can do this. Sign up by August 15th for a health plan. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A partly sunny sky today. Scattered showers and thunderstorms developing this afternoon and this evening. The high today 93, tonight's low 73. Tomorrow, sunny during the morning, scattered showers and storms again by afternoon. The high 93. I'm James Spain on the ABC 3240 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 75 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith and Sophomore Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialties, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at southmarkdesign.com.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9. It is so exciting to be heading into the football season, day 3 of Alabama Crimson Tide practice, and we are reporting here live, and we got DC Capstone Report joining us. Good morning, DC. How you doing, sir?
Martin, how you this morning?
Doing well. So glad to have you on with us this morning. Well, DC is finally here. Football is back. I'll let you give a highlight of the weekend, and then got a couple questions from the weekend that I want to get to you. But what are you hearing coming out of the first couple of days? I know it's short, but still some things happening around the Capstone.
Yeah, it is, Martin. It's so great to have Alabama football back. We can talk about Alabama football, and so just really exciting to get into this weekend, just to see where the things are. You know, you get to hear from the coordinators, you get to hear from Coach Saban, kind of set the tone for the year. Always like to hear that. So I think several things jumped out at me. One is I don't think they've established the identity of this team yet. I do think you kind of heard Coach Saban talk about Alex Rodriguez's speech to them about the 2009-2010 Yankees. About I think Coach Saban is trying to get through this team that just because everyone's talking about you with all the great talent that you have and all the people around you, that you can't let that go to your head, and it's hard to repeat and have a great season just like you came off a great season. So I think that was a strategic to have him speak and to hear Coach Saban talk about that in his press conference. Is another way I think that he sees this team, that they're believing everything everybody's saying about them. And I think the Jaleel Billingsley situation was a little something that may have been unfortunate, but it also gave a teaching tool to Coach Saban. I think that's another way that he gets to drive that point home, that no one's earned anything until they get on the field this season, that last season was last season. And no matter what anybody says about you and how talented you are, you still can have to put in the work. And so I think that was interesting. I think a couple of things jumped off the page was, from what I'm hearing, just my sources from inside, that, Bryce Young looks really good. He looks really polished. Looks like the starting quarterback. Jalen Milroe is really impressive in his throws and his physical ability. Just from the quarterback position, it looks like Brian Robinson's taking the reins of the leadership in the backfield. That looks great, and looks like our defense is really stepped up with the addition of Henry To'oto'o and with Kool-aid McKinstry doing really some great things in the defensive backfield. Looks like our defense is really the real deal this year. Not to mention Will Jefferson and just what he has done and to really improve his game over the offseason. I think so everybody was impressed. I was great to see all those things happening and to be able to talk about real Alabama football. Soon we'll be talking about getting ready for a game, play a game.
Yeah, that's the interesting part is it's actually instead of hyperboles, it's actually actual football. Couple things you mentioned there, I want to circle back on, and then we'll bring up a couple other things as well. The Alex Rodriguez conversation was interesting to me for this reason, DC, and see if this also. I think it was twofold in having Alex come. Number one is because of how great the 2010 team was expected to be for the Yankees. Kind of reminds me of Alabama 2009, 2010. Been a long time since a great program, an historic program that won a World Series. They win in 2009, expected to be able to repeat in 2010, and they fall off the wagon. So that sounds a lot like Alabama from 2009 and could very well be this 2021 team. But a caveat of one of the statements that Alex said, I want to tie it in and see if you see any correlation. He said it wasn't the distractions, DC, it was the attractions, meaning that everybody was loving and doting on them and telling them how great they were. How much of Nick Saban trying to get ahead of the fact that this name, image, and likeness and everybody calling you and asking you to come, because he specifically mentioned speaking engagements and personal appearances. How much of that name, image, and likeness concern do you think Nick Saban was also trying to get ahead of?
No doubt. I think that was the other part of his conversation that was really important to the team. This is new. It's a new thing. No one knows how the kids are going to deal with it. We're talking about 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. We're talking about already student athletes who are trying to have a balance between their time on the field and time in the classroom. And we got a lot of other things that are right at their time. Now you got this name, image, and likeness thing. And who better than the man who had the largest contract ever in the baseball arena at one time, and who was the focal point in the largest TV market in New York at one time, and he was always there firsthand. He's always said that the 2010 Yankees had the most talent ever, and just really went off the rails there. And he's always said it was because of, and he never really called it distractions. He always said it was because everyone believed what everybody said about them instead of going out and proving on the field. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about between that and the name, image, and likeness, and being able to going out and your demand and feeling about what everybody's saying. You're emotionally attached to that, and you get attracted to it. It becomes a big thing for you. When you feed off of that for your emotions rather than your football prowess on the field, then it does interfere with how you play the game.
Yeah, absolutely. DC, Joe and I have come in, and I shared on yesterday. Joe shared a little bit today, but I know where you grew up, your neck of the woods wasn't that far from one of the greatest coaches to ever walk the sidelines of any sport. Bobby Bowden passing. I want to give you an opportunity to share or say anything or any impact he may have had on you and your love for college sports and just game and as a husband and father.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about Bobby Bowden. Bobby Bowden is what I consider one of the greatest of all time football coaches. But Martin, what he did on the field was amazing. But I think what he did off the field impacted so many lives that you and I don't even know about today. And I believe his stance as a Christian has always been so impressive to me because he didn't allow his football life to overcome his Christian life. It was always a part of his life. It was weaved through no matter what. And the coaches that he's affected with his personal beliefs and their lives have changed forever. His teammates, his coach mates, and his team all
always had an opportunity to know about the Lord. He always shared Jesus with them. I thought it was so impressive. But I think one of the other things that I really appreciate about him, and I know you mentioned before on your show about how he impacted you, I think, at one time in the speaking engagement y'all were at. It just seemed like that Coach Bowden never let anyone feel like they were left out. He always included them. You know, if you see him, you think he was your best buddy.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you had never seen him in a long time or didn't know him very well. And I really think also what he's done off the field has affected a lot of people in the roles that they have today, and we may not even know about it. One interesting story I don't know if you're aware of that I got to hear a man speak really told me the depths of a caring that he had about all of his players, all of his coaches, everybody he came in contact with, and that's a tie to University of Alabama football. On the team right now, one of the behind-the-scenes guys on Alabama football that never gets talked about, but has an integral part of how this whole program runs, the process runs, is Jeff Puritan. And if you want to hear about Bobby Bowden, you have Jeff Puritan on your show sometime. I heard Jeff speak and about how he got to the University of Alabama and how Coach Saban, he has a great story about how Coach Saban got in contact with him. But he had left out as Bowden retired, and he had kind of gone from working at Florida State for all those years. He had kind of shifted into the Orange Bowl in the arena of his professional career, and he kind of got established there. And then Coach Saban comes calling on his door to come help him establish the program at the University of Alabama as football operations manager behind the scenes. And instead of flying, because he knew how much that Coach Bowden meant to him, he really appreciated his advice. He drove and he stopped by Tallahassee on a drop-by call to Coach Bowden's house. And Coach Bowden sat there in his living room with him and just went over and gave him some great advice on what he should do about it with his career. And told him, said, "What are you thinking about? Coach Saban had asked you to come be on his staff to start a program from scratch." And got his head thinking straight, and that's how he ended up at the University of Alabama. Well, that's a coach who takes time out for one of his players to stop by, one of his team stop by his house to give him some life advice to change the direction of his career forever. We'll never hear that. You don't hear that story very often. But that, Jeff Puritan has meant a lot in the University of Alabama program. And I don't know where we'd be without him as far as the integral football operations of what he does behind the scenes.
Yeah, Jeff, without a doubt, is critical to the process and keeping the train on the track. So that is definitely a little different insight there. Of course, being believers, we both love Bobby Bowden, what he's meant. But also, I think football teaches us so much about life as well. And one of my favorite scriptures that I want to tie into the next question is all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and call according to his purpose. And so I use that quite often in my Christian walk when I find myself going through ups and downs and difficult things. Nick Saban has a similar philosophy to that scripture, which is don't waste a failure, DC. And is that what the Jaleel Billingsley we hope to see, a young man who Nick Saban's words seem to hit on everything that we were talking about with Billingsley, not committed. He's going to have to be more committed. He's going to have to do what it takes to and what all the other teammates is doing. And Nick Saban has said you have to be a leader that other people are willing to emulate if you want me to put you out there as a leader. And so hopefully Billingsley gets that. And instead of shortening your conversation and comments on Billingsley, let's just go ahead and get the break here. But coming back on the other side, DC, let's talk about some of the positives that could come from the Jaleel Billingsley suspension early on and what his return really means for this Alabama Crimson Tide team. That conversation coming up on the other side of the break. We have DC Capstone Report. The phone lines are open, 205-342-9904. The Taco Casa hotline is open for business, and we'd love to hear from you. Go ahead and pick up and dial right now, 205-342-9904.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the town of Nissan Traffic Center, no accident. Greg, things pretty quiet around town, and we do have some paving going on 2059. This is McFarland, so use caution in that area. If you see other conditions, give us a call. Townsend Nissan has an amazing selection of brand new cars, trucks, SUVs, and they really need your trade. Go see them. I'm Captain Ray.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, Overflow Express Wash. Their mission is to provide great customer service with a showroom clean car and an exceptional customer service experience. They have the basic car wash that starts at $7, but you need to check out the premium wash packages, which start as low as $12 and go up to $20. They also have a membership wash club that you can get for starting at $23.99, going up to $39.99. In other words, just double the regular premium package, drop a penny, and you can be one of the great members of Overflow Express Wash. My family and I keep our cars looking good inside and out by using Overflow Express Wash. They're located on Skyland Boulevard right next door to Alabama 1, or you can find them online at overflowexpresswash.com. Andy Phillips and his team look forward to making you a part of their team.
This is Renee. Happy to be here. She's not some influencer. She's more of a groundbreaker, turning her 4-acre lot into a little slice of heaven behind the wheel of a John Deere 1 Series tractor. Renee runs with us because the most important job is the next one. That's all I got. Nothing runs like a Deere. Get a 1 Series tractor for just $99 per month at your John Deere dealer today. For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
Oh, according to research, 82% of people remember radio ads. So 82% of you listening will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. 82% of you will note that if you're hiring, ZipRecruiter finds qualified people for your job. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And 82% of you will remember that you can try ZipRecruiter for free, but you have to go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Yes, free again. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Nick Saban calls it the process. John Maxwell said that everything rises and falls on it. And Coach Wooden said it's what you learn after you think you know it all that makes the difference. What am I talking about? Leadership and personal development. Is your organization, your school, your church, your family, are they receiving the proper level of leadership development and personal development? If not, the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring can help you with that. We have our pep talks, which is a 1 to 1.5 hour lunch and learn, which we can customize to meet your needs, or we have some topics that we present that we know can help your organization. And if you're looking for one-on-one mentoring and coaching, we can also assist you with that. Visit peptalks35.com. That's peptalks35.com, or send an email to martin@martinhouston.org. That's the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, Martin, you're hot in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. We got DC Capstone Report, sponsored by freelancepictures.com and rolltidebama.com as freelance pictures. I mean, he does such a great job, Lance, helping get everything done. DC, when are you guys rolling things back out for live content?
Yeah, this week is gathering all the information of the first practice, and our first live podcast will be next Tuesday. It'll be up next Tuesday, so we're 1 week away from the podcast going up, and about 3 weeks away from Alabama kicking off against Miami. So it's going to be a great, exciting time. And if you haven't got a chance to see everything that Lance is putting up, go to rolltidebama.com or freelancepictures.com and see some great Alabama content leading up to our new live podcast next Tuesday.
All right, that'll be DC Capstone Report. You can follow them on Facebook as well as find them at dccapstonereport.com. All right, DC, as we were going to break there, we were talking about Nick Saban saying never waste a failure when he talks about his team and the loss. I'm sure he's applying this opportunity to Mr. Jaleel Billingsley. Just talk about even though he missed those first couple of days, what is long term potential impact, as well as what it means to the young quarterback to have this guy back?
Well, I think Jaleel Billingsley is a key player on the offense. I think I've said already leading up to this that Bryce Young was going to lean on him to get some passes early on completions. So I think he was ready for that. And so here I want to look at it from 2 points of view. First of all, Coach Saban doesn't talk about people being absent unless there's a reason for Coach Saban to talk about people being absent. So most of the time he always says, well, that's an internal matter. If it's something that's heavy on his mind, doesn't really want to embarrass the kid. But I believe this was a matter of just not buying into the process, and him being a big enough name on the team, big enough singled out by everybody else looking in, big enough singled out by the players looking at him, that was making a difference in their eyes, especially the young players. That Coach Saban felt like that if he wasn't going to put in the effort that all the other players were doing, that it was affecting the team, that he could use him as an example, which he has. And I believe that it's probably the first time that Jaleel Billingsley has felt that type of pressure of being the man. And I think that that's why it was done the way it was done. I think we know that Coach Saban never does anything without having a reason for it. And because he was talking about it and what the way he shared about it, and his tone was, I believe, was he feels for the young man, wants him to learn from his experience. So that being said, I think he does. I think he picks up the ball. He ratchets up his commitment. He turns out to be the leader that we all know he could be, and it makes a big difference on his team this year. I think he could use that early failure this season to be a win for him. And if he does that and learns and buys into the process, which everyone else that's ever come through there that's bought in the process have gone on to have great careers, then I believe he can do that and make a big difference for this young man. But he's faced a lot of attractions, I'm sure, that, as Alex Rodriguez put it, and I think he probably has people in his ear. You've got some advisors out there that tell you what you do and how big you are and how great you are, and then that makes you feel like you're better than the team.
Yeah.
One thing I think you'll see in this, Martin, is look at what Coach Saban did say about the people he talked about. What the coordinator said about people he talked about. When they mentioned Bryce Young, they mentioned his unselfish nature of being a leader. When they mentioned Will Anderson, they mentioned his unselfish nature of being a leader, being a teammate, being a great teammate. And when they talk about people that way, and when they talk about situations of ability, it wasn't his athletic prowess they're talking about. They're talking about his lack of being a good teammate.
Correct.
And I think that's something that this team's got to buy into it and come together. Or if they don't, they will end up like the 2010 team, but 2010 Yankees team.
And speaking of what was said, let's hear from. Of course, he's going to have a hard time getting rid of this nickname, Pete Golding, Mr. Right, based on the number of times he used the term right in his interview. But he had some things to say about Will Anderson. Here's what Pete Golding, the third-year defensive coordinator, and I'm laughing because I'm getting a couple comments on on Facebook regarding Pete Golding and Curtis Lewis has zero confidence in Pete Golding's ability to take the next step, but he speaks to Will Anderson's ability to take the next step. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think Kool-aid is a very talented kid. And I think we kind of talked about this last year. Yeah, I think it's consistency, right? So again, every snap. So, to me, Will flashed a lot last year, right, and made a lot of negative yardage plays because he's an extremely good pass rusher, right? But there's some things in the run game, right, that we're still cleaning up. Very heavy-handed, can strike. Coach Sal does a really good job of them. But I think the big thing when you got a really good player right on base downs, you still got to play within the scheme. right? I've got a gap responsibility. I've got a job to do, right? And then, all right, now let's stop the run and have some fun. And let's get on third down and let's isolate you, right? Our best pass rusher and their worst protector. Hey, let's go win that one-on-one. So I think it's consistency, right, from an every down basis. I think obviously when you have a young player like that that's really talented, right, he's so focused on, hey, what's my alignment and what's my assignment, to where from a pre-snap scan, right, the anticipation of what's coming. Right, look at the demeanor of the tackle. Hey, is this going to be run or pass? Right, hey, here's the backfield set. Right, it's going to be a run. What run are you getting? Who's blocking me? How am I going to defeat the block? Right, the stimulus and the response. All right, now here's the demeanor. It's pass. All right, man, let's tee this thing up. He can't block you. Right, here's my number one move. Here's my counter. Right, go win. So I think the big piece of it, consistency, and then the anticipation piece. Right, from a film study aspect, because now I know where to line up. I know what to do. So now let's teach offense, right? What are they doing? What's their demeanor, right? What's the backfield set? What am I going to get to allow himself to be able to make some more plays?
All right, DC. If we can get past the right part, that was actually some pretty good audio there, right? No, I'm just kidding. DC, when you look at that, there's one thing that underlines the both of those things. He said he needs to be more consistent in anticipation. It sounds to me like maybe he didn't mentally grasp the game as much as you would like as a true freshman, and he played a lot and did a lot of what he did last year off of natural ability. Did you walk away with that from that statement?
Yeah, and I think that's probably that's probably the progression of most freshmen. Most freshmen come in and can play on raw athletic ability, and some of them are just so good that they dominate the people in front of them, so they look like they got control of the game. But most of the freshmen are really good at what they do, but they have to think about it. You got to think about things, and that thinking about it gives you that half second step behind the players. So you're reacting instead of acting. So I think what he's talking about, the natural progression of a freshman from freshman to sophomore year, is that, hey, you got your position down. You know what? You don't got to think about what position you got to be in. Now you got to learn and read the offense to put you in the right position. You know what position to get in. You know what your defensive schemes are. But now let's learn the offense, their ticks, their moves, what they do on film, the film study, so that now you can put yourself in the right position ahead of time, and you don't have to react. You're acting on what they're doing ahead of time. And I think that's where he's seeing the most improvement in Will Anderson. And man, just imagine that, Martin. You got all that same athletic ability, and you move into that. Now I don't want to make this comparison, person to person, but if you go back and watch the film of another great Alabama rusher, outside rusher, Derek Thomas, you'll see his freshman year, he had great athletic ability, but he made some horrible put himself in some bad positions.
Right.
Because his athletic ability couldn't overcome knowing the position and knowing what to do. But later, his athletic ability was still there when he caught up with the speed of the game and knowing what to do. You yourself know it's one thing of knowing your position and going out there and playing, and another thing of knowing your position so well that you don't have to think about it. You just go out there and play and react in the moment on what the other team is giving you. And that's where they want to get Will Anderson to be. So I give that comparison with Derek Thomas in that he's got the raw athletic ability, and if he puts together the football acumen of it, knowing your position and moving into a different arena as far as what you're thinking at the time, instead of thinking about your position, thinking about how you're going to play that. I believe that makes a big difference.
Yeah, I yesterday I used it that same comparison, conditional comparison to Derek Thomas, and that was that if he takes that next step as a sophomore, what it will mean in terms of the growth, and that he could begin to get in the conversation with Derek Thomas, not that he would be Derek Thomas. And, when you talk about anticipation, DC, anticipation is not just you knowing what to do, but also understanding the game enough and studying film enough and understanding what the defense wants to do and what the offense is trying to do that you anticipate the move. In other words, if you're rushing on that tackle and all of a sudden you see him take a big drop step to the outside, he's trying to get you to go inside. He's trying to sucker you inside so he can cave the play down. Or all of a sudden, if that tackle takes that big step down and back, he's trying to get you to take the outside rush so they can get up inside. And you as a defender have to learn to anticipate what they're trying to do. And if you know your job and you know your scheme and you know everyone else's responsibility, then you're able to anticipate what they're doing and react quicker. And the difference between that is shutting down the hole or falling back in on a tackle and the guy picking up 3 or 4 yards. And that, go ahead.
Then that's exactly right. And then you move into that point of you can study not on film the man you're going up against the next week, and you can find something in what they're doing if you study hard enough. In other words, you already got your stuff down, but you can spend
Right.
much time studying that person.
Correct.
You can find a tell. You know where their fingers are pointing, they move a certain way. If their elbows out or in, they're going a certain way. Then you can expose them. But unless you got your part down, Martin, you can't study them.
That's right. Well, DC,
I don't think in high school he had to do very much. And I'm just saying his athletic ability probably in high school outweighed most every opponent he had.
correct.
Then again, you look at Kool-aid McKinstry. He probably studied a lot more film at the position he was. He was on the island at a corner. And he probably studied a lot more film, so he probably translated a little bit differently as a freshman than maybe what some of the other freshmen might do, because their athletic ability just was so much better than the players they were playing against.
I totally agree. And I played against a guy that had a tail in in high school, DC. And I don't know how they never corrected it, but you could look at his feet and he shifted left or right, his foot slightly in front, and you knew which direction the play was going based on that. And we played them, and he pretty much lost yards on every play of the game, but 3, and those 3 plays were 2 90-yard runs and a 70-yard run. So that tells you how good he was. So if we if we hadn't had that tail all night, he probably would have had 1,000 yards on our defense, and we were pretty good defensively. But that was the difference, was that he had a tail, and we had picked that up on film. And that's what you look for, and that's what'll take Will Anderson from a good player to an absolute great dominant outside defensive end. Coming back on the other side, we're gonna get you mentioned Kool-Aid. We're gonna get what Pete Golden had to say about Kool-Aid McKinstry. Sounds like this young man is going to have a legit shot to be the next true freshman corner to come in and play for the Alabama Crimson Tide. He has some work to do, but sounds like he has all the right things. We'll have that conversation coming back on the other side.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active wrecks, but we are seeing an increase in traffic. Congestion on McFarland, Lurleen, and Watermelon. 69 congested at Skyland. If you see conditions, give us a call. Townsend Nissan has an amazing selection of new cars, trucks, SUVs, and they really need your trade. Go see them. I'm Captain Ray.
Good morning. The rapid rise in COVID-19 and Delta variant cases continues unabated across the state and nation. In Alabama, more than 7,400 new positives have been diagnosed in the last week. This morning, DC8 Regional Medical Center treating 105 virus patients with 27 in intensive care. Those are the highest numbers since January. Area physicians have presented a petition requesting local schools require masks. The county school board discussed it last night. The city has a call meeting at 6 tonight to discuss it. I'm Don Hartley.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about Tuscaloosa Custom Carving. If you're looking for a way to add value to your home, make your home pop, make your landscaping stand out from your neighbors, then Tuscaloosa Custom Carving can help you do just that. They have numerous styles, but they feature the Moroccan Stone Curb series, which includes 4 great styles and unlimited color choices. That's Tuscaloosa Custom Carving. They are the one that can help you stand out from your neighbors. Tuscaloosa Custom Carving, 205-331 6823. You may also find yourself with the need for a custom size stone or custom shaped stone. Then Tuscaloosa Custom Carving can help with that as well. Paul Fuller and his team are waiting on your call right now for that free quote. And if you tell them that Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show told you to stop by, you'll get a big discount. So call Tuscaloosa Custom Carving at 205-331-6823 or visit them online at Tuscaloosa Custom Carving LLC.
At Shell, we know from the time you get up to the time you wrap up, there's a lot of meetups, eat-ups, and hurry-ups. So come to Shell and get 3 things done at once. Fill up with Shell V Power Nitro Plus to help keep your engine running like new. Save up with the Fuel Rewards program and never pay full price for gas again. And snack up with in-store rewards to save even more at the pump. Make the most of the stop you need to make with Shell. In engines that continuously use Shell V Power Nitro Plus premium gasoline. See full terms and conditions at fuelrewards.com.
Attention business owners, if your biggest question is, how can I find more customers? Then Town Square can help. Go to mylocalcustomers.com for a free competitive analysis that will show you how the most successful businesses grow and how you can do it too. These strategies are simple and we can show you how to apply them to your business. Be one of the first businesses to sign up and you'll receive $500 in free advertising on this radio station. Visit mylocalcustomers.com. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back in. Hey, Joe, let's see if we can get that Kool-Aid audio. Pete Golden talking about Kool-Aid, and we'll have DC respond to that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think Kool-Aid is a very talented kid. You know, I think we kind of talked about this last year. You know, Coach does a really good job from an evaluation piece, right, and determining the critical factors to be successful to play corner. So he's got the length that we want, right? He's got the short area quickness. He can run. He's got top end speed. You know, obviously, he's played offense, returns punts, so he's got the ball skills, right? The one thing that I was most impressed about, right, and from Kool-Aid in the spring was the ability to come up and put his face on you. You know, so again, a lot of times those type of kids, especially that position, sometimes are hesitant, right, to come put their face on you. And based on the coverage principle that we're playing, a lot of those times, those guys, those corners are in the fit. We're using them, right? We're spilling the ball out to them, or we're going to blitz them. You know, so I thought in the spring, yeah, he's athletic enough. We knew that, right? He is who we thought he was, right? But I thought he was more physical. I think with any freshman, right, that's very talented, and Kool-Aid's no exception, it's still the same thing of the consistency, right, of being able to do my job. Right. And then now, hey, they're on scholarship too. And we go against some good receivers every day. And I do get beat. How am I going to respond? Right. And be able to play that next play. So I think that maturing process, which obviously Coach Saban does an unbelievable job coaching those guys and Coach Vlad as well with them. I think that's a growing process. But he does process very well. He understands the game. Right. So, again, that's a big piece. So he's got the ability. He has the ability to process, right, and he'll put his face on you. So if we can get that consistent, right, he's going to be a really good player.
Kool-Aid getting high praise from Pete Golden. What's your biggest takeaway from what he said from that statement?
Well, I think what he's saying is consistently what Coach Saban said coming out of spring practice. He's talking about Kool-Aid. He made some great progress. He just want to be more consistent. I think both of them, Coach Saban does a great job with the corner. And I think he likes a physical, long, lengthy corner that can compete with these receivers and go up for these 50-50 balls. And Kool-Aid can definitely do that, especially with his basketball play as well. I mean, he plays like a one-on-one basketball player. He does a really good job at that. So I think that's a very big plus for him. I think he does lose some matchups, and how he responds to that is the leadership and the growth that we'll have to see between spring and fall camp. But I would not be surprised that if when they line up against Miami, that he starts in some capacity, either at punt returner or corner, in sometime in this game. I just think he's got the skills to do that, and And I think Coach Saban recognized it early on. I think that's the reason you've seen some of the moves in the defensive backfield.
I'm going to tell you one of the things, and I agree with everything you said. My biggest takeaway from that is that he's a hitter. That he'll come up and stick his face in there. And when Pete Golden says he'll make the fit, we're going to spill things over to him. That is a game changer for a defense when they can have confidence, not just that a safety or Jordan Battle will come up and feel the outside when there's a run, but that they can shift their defense in such a way and rush the front line in such a way and play our linebackers in such a way that if they force the play to the edge, that they have a corner that will come up and hit. Because most of these guys, DC, they're not ready to come up and hit a Brian Robinson or a Najee Harris type player. But from what he just said in that thing, Kool-Aid will stick his head in there and come up and hit you. And I did not hear that from the spring. Talent-wise, he's going to be fine. But if he's going to be a playmaker and a hitter, as Curtis Moore II said, all I got to say is Jalen Armour Davis better not relax too much. Because Kool-Aid, if he has all those other skill sets and he's a hitter and he can come up in what they call run fits, that's a game changer. So any closing thoughts of what you expect over the next couple of days and before we get back with you next week, DC?
Well, I just think that working towards the scrimmage, we're going to know a little bit more after that. But I think that you're going to see the team gel in the next few days. You're going to see some people talk about the defense a little more because of the way they're handling the offensive practice a little bit. But you're going to see some surprises maybe towards the end of the week of some players that talk about some players maybe you hadn't talked about in a while.
All right, that's DC Capstone Report. DC, tell them where they can find you.
You can find us at DCCapstoneReport.com, DC Capstone Report on Facebook. You can follow me on Twitter at DavidCott50. Looking forward to talking about some Alabama football. Thank you, Martin, and have a great day and roll tide.
Well, roll tide. That's DC Capstone Report. Thanks, guys. The great to be talking Alabama football. We'll have a wild card Wednesday. We'll talk about Bryce Young, Jason Milroe, B-Rob, what he can do to get better, and so much more. If you have a topic you'd like us to cover on our wild card Wednesday, tweet it out at Martin Houston 35 or post it on Facebook Live, Martin Houston Live, and we'll add that to the conversation. Thank you so much. Thanks, Joe. Glad to have you back. Thanks, callers, guests, chatters, and so many others. Remember this, trust in the Lord always, lean not your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Roll Tide and have a blessed day.
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.
Thank you, sir.
And streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.